Hi and welcome to a stupid lists. It might not be 10 this time, but I think you can figure out it's a changing number. I just don't want to change that. So 6 pieces of gear you'll regret buying in 2022. It's an Fstopper's original. Yeah, so it's gonna be dumb. Funny thing about articles like these are, they're gonna be stupid because they're trying to make it sound relevant. So the article is, there's a lot of advice on what gear you should buy in 2022, but if you look beyond the marketing companies, is there gear that you probably don't need in 2022? The answer is yes, there's a lot of gear you don't need. Here are my top picks for what you should not get. Okay, first off, filters. The stupidest purchase you can make is a UV filter. It does sound very harsh, and I will admit to making this mistake myself. Okay, so not to go on here. Now he's being really stupid, and I know there are split opinions here. If we go by the argument you don't want it and don't need it, then sure, you can live without it if you're very careful, if you use your lens hood and all kind of stuff. But the thing is, if you bring your camera outside or to events, there's a good chance it'll get dirty. And cleaning or switching out a filter is a lot cheaper than if you got a proper lens. If you got a cheap ass starter set, starter lens, starter camera, no, you don't need to be that careful about it. Unless, again, if you don't have that much money. But this is a guy who claims to work a lot with photography and cameras, which means his camera and lenses probably aren't cheap. So my biggest question is here, why wouldn't you just pay a little bit for a little bit of protection? If you got a $2,000 lens or just a $1,500 lens, throwing in $100 or something for a good lens filter would almost be, well, stupid not to. His problem is that lenses are already complex enough and everything, but the best optical quality will result in subpar images. By adding a filter, you simply negate the engineering of your lens. Cheap filters can also cause unwanted lens flares among other nasty artifacts. Okay. First off, yes, if you go with the cheapest crap you find, it'll have some flaws. So yeah, again, if you got a $2,000 lens, you're not gonna throw on a $5 Amazon cheapest UV filter you can find. But again, you can actually find a good one at $5, but it depends on what you're going for and where you're photographing. But your argument can't be you shouldn't do it because if you take a really cheap one, it'll be worse. But then again, it's way easier to clean and switch those out. But let's go on. For those people who put a UV filter to protect the lens, I would like to say a lens hood does a much better job. Well, yes, at stopping things from getting in there, and especially the light flares and stuff, but does not protect the lens per se, not to any degree if you're talking about moisture and all that kind of stuff. But I think the stupid thing about the start of that lens is for the people who put a UV filter to protect lenses, it's because the original use of the UV filter was to protect the film from UV rays, but the digital sensors don't have any problem with this. So yeah, and getting to the end of the filters here, he does not mean UV filters only, he means any filter apparently. He writes, again, in the days of film, you did not have the luxury of being able to edit images to precise detail and recover detail from vastly over or underexposed images. Nowadays you can use Lightroom or Capture One for this purpose. There are certain filters such as variable ND that are helpful in some applications, but those also need to be tip-top quality to ensure the best possible image quality at the end. Okay, the thing, ND filters are not helpful in applications. ND filters are helpful to give you a longer shutter speed or help you if it's way too bright to shoot at what aperture you want. So that has nothing to do with programs. Secondly, in the age of film, you could easily fix over or underexposed images, although his wording is vastly under or overexposed. Lightroom and Capture One and all those other programs can't fix vastly over or underexposure. But back in the days of film, what we did is you had your light table, and then if the sky was a bit overexposed, you just make a short exposure to the photo paper. I don't know why people like this, I'm going to idiot right now, doesn't know this. Does people really always just think, oh, back in the day, sure, the camera, it goes click, picture came out, done. No. Lightroom is called Lightroom because it's the equivalent to a dark room where you work with the light table. So my advice here is don't compare something if you don't know what the fuck you are talking about. Next up, rig/cage. A rig case is useless unless you do video. Okay, I'd like to stop, but I assume it's idiot boy before going any further. Yes, it's preferable usable for video shooting if you want to get the option of easily attaching a lot of stuff, or you want the handle to carry it around. A very common use with it is for photographers, especially if you're the kind who like to sometimes switch the orientation of the camera. Instead of wide, have a tall picture. So it's not necessary, but if you do that a lot, you'd really enjoy having the option of attaching the camera sideways. Light meter. Okay, so this is only useful if you're a photographer and if you got sets, you're setting up light. His argument, you can do it in camera, is yes, but your camera can walk around and use anywhere. It's stationary from where it is. So the light meter, sure, it's probably sometimes more useful on a film set to make sure everything is okay, but if you don't know why a light meter can be very important, don't get it. If you're a photographer and you know how a light meter functions and what you use it for, then I'm sorry, then you're an idiot if you're saying that's a stupid purchase. No, that's the same as saying if the writer here has a camera, that's a stupid purchase because he don't know much about camera stuff. Lens ball. Yes, that was stupid from day one, but he apparently bought one because he's that kind of idiot, I guess. But that's my personal preference. I don't like those lens balls. I don't see the purpose to them. Yeah. Camera skin, again, shot of the log. Oh, it's stupid to take care of your camera or your equipment. So yeah, even if you are a professional photographer, which only means you get paid, doesn't say anything about your good or anything. Most people, if they got an enthusiast or professional camera, they don't just have money to go and buy a new one as soon as there's a tiny scratch on the old one. And some people like the equipment, so they buy stuff like camera skins. It's a very cheap, effective way to ensure you don't get scratches, dents, or any problems. I don't have one because I don't really need one. But if I were going out to nature a lot, I had to have my camera places where I couldn't protect it as well, I would consider it. His arguments are stupid because I guess he believes that your camera dents and scratches shows proud fighting scars, but that's not true. That's just you not protecting or taking care of a camera. And he writes, a team of designers has worked to make a camera black, invisible, while also making the logo stand out. So his biggest problem with protecting the camera is, oh, then people can see how much money I spend on my camera. It says Canon or Sony or Nikon. That's very important. That's just the most awful excuse ever. So in conclusion, you'll regret protecting your camera. Listen to, I would say, idiot boy who thinks it's a good thing to have scratches on the camera and don't protect your lenses and stuff. You can always buy new. And the fun thing is, he ends by making sure everyone knows he's an idiot. The 6 pieces of gear you'll regret buying in 2022 is only 5 things. Yeah, he only shows 5 things. So he can't even count. That's amazing.